Hi, it's Chris Watkin here, and I'm with Dan Marsden, ex-director of Savills and now guru helping businesses and agents grow their businesses. Dan, something you're particularly passionate on is LinkedIn, how to use LinkedIn properly to get the business you deserve. Talk to me.
I think this is probably slightly polarised opinion, Chris, but I think people are focusing too much on content rather than actually using LinkedIn as a massive potential CRM for prospects and potential clients.
Because when LinkedIn, you saw I raised my eyebrow, because let's be honest, if you connected up with me, you're going to get bombarded with content. What do you mean by using it as a black book?
I think people have been taking a lot of advice over the last few years about content. I think marketing managers across the country and all businesses, their job is to produce content, obviously, that makes the brand visible, that makes them, it's a perceived, the perception in the market is that they're experts, or they're
trusted advisors,
and that's great. I think in terms of personal brand and using social media, I think people panic too much about what they're posting and actually don't come back to what I would use it for is to identify people I think I can share some value with and just start a conversation with them, rather than me worrying about the next paradigm shifting piece of content that's going to get me clients. That's, for me, is not the way to do it.
Okay, but surely hardly anyone actually produces any content on LinkedIn.
No, well, of 600...
Because they're worried what people will think about them.
Well, there is that, but I mean, if you look at LinkedIn globally, there's over 645 million people on the platform. Only about half of those people are active, and only about 40% of those, well, 40% of those people are active. There's only about 3 million people out of 645 who actually post regularly. So it's a double-edged sword. You have a massive opportunity to make an impact, but you also, there's a lot of content out there, and I think, to be honest, people are finding a lot of content a bit plain vanilla and beige. It's a bit like white noise. I don't really want to hear about someone's car journey to work, and I don't really want to hear about the fact that they stubbed their toe, or that they want to share something that is for me, it's a bit...
Don't you think a lot of content is very self-serving in terms of look at me, look at us, look what we've won, look what we've sold, what we do, look what we've sold, how brilliant we are?
Yeah, and to be honest, when I talk to businesses about LinkedIn, that's exactly it. I don't, as a customer, as a potential client, I probably don't know about your business, and even if I do know about your business, I don't care about your business until you help me, because I'm selfish. And inherently, most clients are, in certainly the businesses that I work in, and certainly in the property industry, they're busy people. So unless you can demonstrate very quickly that you can help them, they're not going to be interested. So I, totally agree with what you've just said. Nobody cares that you've got an office dog called Rufus. Nobody cares that you won an award last year because you bought a table. Nobody cares that, nobody cares about all of these things that you perceive as important. Actually, if you're talking to people who are selling houses, or people who are doing and they're worried about their things, they don't actually care.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, let's be honest, I'm a bit of a whore when it comes to LinkedIn posting. And I actually asked you before we actually started this, do you actually know how I earn my money?
Yeah.
And you said no.
Well, I have no idea, Chris. You might have fingers in lots of pies.
No, but
you earn most of your money.
The interesting thing is that you will hardly ever see me post anything about the services I offer.
Quite. Yeah.
And I think where an awful lot of agents go wrong, and also businesses go wrong, it's like going to a party and someone talk about themselves all night. What do we think to that person who talks about themselves all night?
Yeah.
What do you think of that person?
I find those people boring, and I talk a lot. I probably talk too much sometimes. I know what my weaknesses are, but in a business context, I think, and it sounds cliche, people always say 2 ears, 1 mouth, all this sort of thing. People rarely practice that, especially salespeople. And when you look at how people market themselves or how people sell their businesses, it is a very marketer-centric thing. So
let's agree. We do agree on that content bit. Before we move on to talk about the black book element, which I think is absolutely fantastic because I know that works in my business. What would you say to someone who is unable to create content?
I would say to those people, you've got two choices. You can either take the advice of somebody who's very good at producing that content, but not just good at producing content on their own feed. They're getting engagement. I think that's key. I've had loads of social media companies try and sell their services to me. And they say, we can get you this, we can get you that, we can post this, we can post that. That's fine. When you look at their own pages, there's no engagement. So for me, there's no social proof that they can do what they're asking me to do. On the flip side, you can either ignore that totally, and you can focus more on engaging with the network you've already got. And this is something that I don't understand as a salesperson. For me, and again, excuse the cliche, the money's in the list. There's a reason that saying's there. A business is as strong as its database of people. And if you've got 1,000 connections on LinkedIn, or you've got 1,000 people sitting on your computer in your office, there's no reason to obsessively collect more if you're servicing that database properly.
So basically what you're telling me is that people should actually be looking at their actual connections, looking at the individual profiles and seeing if there's a business fit. What, is it as simple as sending a private message?
It's as simple as sending a private message.
Okay.
But not a spammy, salesy message.
Okay.
It's about, for me, if I've got 1,000 people in my phone, if you give me an iPhone with 1,000 people in it, I've got the opportunity potentially to having a relationship with each of those people.
I'm going to annoy you here, but I actually 100% agree with you on this one. You see, what I often find with social media is that you give in public,
Yeah.
yet ask in private.
Yeah.
Ask for business in private.
Yeah.
And I get a lot of my business by looking at people's profiles, because you can target someone. I can target all lettings directors in London,
Yeah.
and I can send them a message which is relevant and pertinent and valuable, which makes them contact me. But the best bit is this: you can hit the word contact info and give you their bloody mobile number, mate.
That's it.
And you can't ignore a phone number, can you?
No, and that's it. And I think, one thing that, if you've ever run a sales team, or if you've ever run a team that is charged with creating business, and that team's reluctant to pick up a phone, you've got a problem. And, back in the day when people weren't sending out hundreds of emails a day, the best agents I've ever worked with are the guys that are amazing on the phone. And that's kind of died a bit now. I think there's a generation that's coming now. I mean, I stopped a guy a few years ago who worked in one of my teams, sending out a gigantic email trying to sell some investment products out in Asia. And the guy he was emailing was a 5-minute walk from our office in Marylebone. And so I stopped him sending the email. He phoned the guy, went to see him, and came back clutching a check. Now, if he'd have sent that email, he would have never got that business. LinkedIn and other social media platforms are not there to replace human interaction, and that's the biggest problem I have with it. They're there to start a conversation. So I will use social media to get somebody's attention in a non-salesy way, have a chat with them, and I know, say, add some value, give them some value, share something, appeal to their vanity if you have to. If they produce something that's great, tell them it's great, that's fine. And that's the piece, I think, from this point of view, that people get completely wrong. They forget there are basic sales. If you've ever been on sales training courses, there's a way to do that. If you've got a CRM, if you've got a list of people, you have to cyclically make sure that you're in contact with those people. I don't think a lot of agents do that now anymore. I just think they rely on their marketing team to drive leads so they can just attend to those leads. I don't think most agents, and I say most agents, and I say this cautiously because I don't know all agents, but I talk to enough agents, are not very good at business development. They've forgotten that craft.
Shall we talk in the next video about business generation and
Yeah,
business
sure.
development? Thank you.